Clamps, people. We need to talk about clamps. There is a running mantra that you can never have enough clamps in woodworking. And part of me thinks, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And part of me thinks there is nothing farther from the truth. It's kind of a myth. You can get started with a small collection of clamps. It just will take you longer to get the job done. And then you might not have a clamp to do a large glue up or something if you just have a small set. But you know, my idea on building up a clamp collection is to start with what you need, a basic kit. And then as you need something for a specific project, that's when you build your clamp kit up. And you know, if you're planning a project, you can, know a couple weeks in advance, hopefully, that you need X set of clamps and you can go procure them. I'm going to start with the basic kit that I think everybody probably should have. And that is some F clamps. I have a large variety of them here. Here's a Bessie, looks like I guess a 6-inch. You know I love the Harbor Freight F clamps. The ones that are black with the blue and gray handle. They make them in 6-inch increments from, I believe, 6 inches up to 36 inches or 30 inches. I do have a couple of the long ones over there. I don't really recommend the Harbor Freight clamps over about 18 inches. They get flexible. You can see this Bessie clamp has a nice thick bar in there. That ain't bending when you crank on it. This little bar is much thinner, as you can see. So these things are great. This clamp costs over $20. This clamp costs $3. Why do I like these? $3. I've not had one fail yet in this model. So they are just great. I also have some very small Bessies. I like these little guys too. F clamps are really kind of a key clamp for woodworking. You can glue panels up with them, although there are better clamps to do that. Obviously, they can help you in almost all kinds of glue ups as well as holding things in place. Welders use these to hold metal in place. They just have a ton of uses. So F clamps I would suggest starting with. And I would suggest going to Harbor Freight if you have one and get 4 of the 6, 12, and 18 inch. That's not going to cost you a lot of money. These things are $2, $3, and $4 a piece. If you get lucky and find the coupon where you can get 30% off anything under $10, that's the time to buy them. You can go buy 4 of them right then and there at 30% off. I just bought 4 of these because the sale was on a couple weeks ago. I got 4 of these for $2.08 a piece. I don't know how they make it for $2.08. So they're good clamps. Bessies are definitely better. They're definitely thicker. I do have some. I haven't bought any Bessie clamps in a long time. I currently just buy the Harbor Freight. That's just, I have a lot of clamps. And another thing about having a lot of clamps, guys, I've been purchasing clamps for over 20 years. I didn't just go out and buy 50, 60, 70 clamps. I buy a couple. Like I said, 2 weeks ago, I bought 4 6-inch Harbor Freight clamps. Over time, you accumulate them, and that's how you get a big kit. Like I said, start with the 4 of each of those 3 sizes, and a few others I'm going to talk about in a minute, and you'll have a good kit to start with, and then when you need something bigger, go for it, and I'll explain those as I get to them. The next clamp I'm going to talk about that I think you should have in your initial kit is these spring clamps. I like these here that you can get at either Harbor Freight or any Home Depot. I want to say the Home Depot ones might be orange or green. These are black. I don't know where I got these. They come in obviously different sizes. This one's bigger. And they make plastic ones too. I'm not as much of a fan of the plastic ones, but they do work. I would grab at least 4 of these. These are great to hold things to the side of a bench, things like that. You can find these on sale for $1 a piece. When they're on sale for $1 a piece, grab at least 4 of them, and then build them up over time. You can see I got looks like a dozen of them hanging up there, however many that is. I think they should be part of your initial kit. You're still at very minimal money there. The third clamp that I would suggest you get right away is a pair of these quick grip These are Irwins. You can get these at the big box stores. You can get a pair of these for 20 bucks. So 20 bucks, $4, and let's say you're probably at $25 or $30 there. You're looking at about $50 for your initial upgrade to get 12 Harbor Freights, 2 of these, and 4 of the spring clamps, and you have a good starting kit then. You can build boxes, you could build birdhouses, you could start small in your woodworking endeavors and then move on as you need be. I also have some of these quick grip clamps in a bigger size. This looks like a 12-inch size, I guess. And these are considerably stronger. These unfortunately are not made anymore. I got these at Penn State Industries, who still is in business, but they're more to do with pen turning and dust collection now. They don't sell clamps anymore, and they made some really good clamps. So unfortunately, I don't know another source to get these big ones like this. I know Irwin makes these in a few sizes, but you can see this is a much more substantial clamp than this. I mean, all the way across the board. The bar, the grips, everything is much more substantial. If I can find a resource, I'll put it down below. Alright guys, those are the clamps that I think you need to start woodworking. They are the most common clamps we use in woodworking on a daily basis, but there are other clamps that we do need and use in woodworking. As you move on to building furniture, your past boxes, your past birdhouses, you're going to build yourself, say, a coffee table, and you need to glue up a top, or you're going to build a workbench and you got to glue the top up. You're going to need something in the larger capacity. Now this is a small one, but they make these parallel clamps all the way up to 40 inches, I believe. And the beauty of these is you can see there's a mechanism that rocks in here, so it keeps your board parallel. So when you're gluing things up, they don't want to bow out of here. It's much easier to do a glue up with these. Obviously they stand on end. You can put the boards in there, cinch it up, tighten it up. I have about a dozen of these downstairs and I love them. These are expensive. I purchased all of my parallel clamps used. I found them on Craigslist. As a matter of fact, other than the Irwins and the Penn States and the Pittsburgh Harbor Freights, all of these clamps are pretty much purchased used. These Harbor Freights here, that I'll talk about in a minute, were used as well. So you can find these parallel clamps used. They're still expensive. I think I paid $150 for the 12 that I bought, which I thought was a good deal. That's 12 bucks a piece, say. So parallel clamps, great clamps. Don't need them to start with. When you go to do that first panel glue up, tabletop, whatever, that's when you're going to need something like that. If that's too expensive for you, you can do pipe clamps. Pipe clamps are available at the big box store. What they are basically is you get this piece, and they come in 1 inch and 3/4 inch sizes, and what that means is the size of the pipe. So after you buy the clamp pieces, you go to the plumbing section and you get a piece of this black piping, and make sure that one end has a thread on it, and you can cut them in any size you want. So you can make 6-foot clamps if you want out of these. So you can glue up any kind of tabletop you want. They will also stand on end, so you can put the boards in there. Not as easily as those, but they do work. They provide a lot of clamping pressure. You can bow your board with these things. They provide so much clamping pressure. So you got to put some cauls on with these to make sure you keep your boards flat. But that's another video. There are also these bar clamps, which is a kind of an in-between the parallel and the pipe clamp. These are Harbor Freight models. These are fairly inexpensive. They're under $10 a piece. Paul Sellers kind of made these famous. He did a video on these, and pretty much anything Paul makes a video on, he makes pretty much famous. He did his video where he actually cut some lumber. I forget if he did hardwood or just pine, and he put it in here to stiffen it, because you can see this aluminum is pretty weak. You can twist it. He puts a board in each one of the clamps he uses, and they're very stable when you do that. This is probably the cheapest way to go for gluing up a tabletop. You can get yourself 4 or 5 of these with the Harbor Freight coupons as well. Now, moving on, we have a few other weird kinds of clamps here. the hand clamps here. These are an off-brand, you know, just something I got. I think I got these on eBay. Something cheap. They don't work the greatest. These things are indispensable because they can be a third hand for you. You can put these down like this. Then you could take your clamp and clamp it. Let's say you wanted to put a board up on your bench like this. You can cinch it up like that, and then take another clamp and clamp the clamp to the bench, and all of a sudden you've got a nice workplace there. The beauty of these clamps is they become a third hand. There's all kinds of ways to deal with these things. They're kind of fun to use. They do a lot of excellent things like this. I've seen people, they're made out of wood, so I've seen people drill holes in them, add extensions to them, do all kinds of crazy things. They're very good clamps, and they're just not necessary to start. At some point you might want to get yourself some, you know, to do something like this. You'll find that they are indispensable for hand holding, for a third hand. The last clamp I have here is a C-clamp. I have a few of them. Again, these are Harbor Freights. Very inexpensive. I don't like using these for wood, but I do like to use these to hold jigs and things to my bench top. The reason I don't like using these for wood is they do provide a lot of pressure in a very small area, and they can dent your wood, so they can damage your project. So not really good for clamping and gluing up, but very good for putting a jig on your bench and then holding it to your bench top really tight. Alright guys, one more special clamp that goes into the spring clamp family is the, I believe Rockler has keyed the term bandy clamp. These are the bandy clamps. You can see they have a little rubber insert in here. And what these are is basically spring clamps. They're just very powerful spring clamps. So let's say we got a piece of plywood here. We want to edge band it. Here's a little piece of cut off I made, you know. Obviously you apply some glue here and affix it, and then take these clamps, spread them, squeeze the rubber thing, and pinch it down. Again, squeeze the rubber, pinch it down, and literally that totally provides enough clamping pressure to hold that little piece of trim on the edge of a piece of plywood. You know, anything you're trimming, you don't have to use any pin nails. Anything you have to cover a hole with is eliminated here. You're getting this good glue. You know, I have more of them here. I just got these in the mail the other day, to be honest with you. Again, like I said, buying clamps when you need them kind of thing. I am in the process of building several cabinets in the basement, which is why I purchased these clamps. I'm going to be doing a lot of plywood cabinets, and I'm going to be edge banding them with hardwood. So another good use of a specialty clamp. Again, not needed at the beginning, but when you get to this point, there they are. You know, I'm 20 years in. I just bought these for the first time. So you can see you will grow over time with your clamps. All right, hey guys, as you can see, I filmed that video on the clamps actually back in January, right at the first of the year actually. I had that Clemson sweatshirt on because they were actually unfortunately getting their butts kicked in their bowl game that night. My godson Andrew is a sophomore at Clemson, so he gave me that sweatshirt for Christmas, and of course I wear it to support him and them. Didn't go that well for them. Oddly now, it's 4 months later, and I never published that video. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I wanted to give you a little update to it. I had mentioned that I recommend getting yourself a small kit of F-clamps, and I do recommend these Harbor Freight F-clamps. But I'm going to amend that a little bit, because a lot of people really like the ratchet clamps these days. And what I'm going to say is, I don't care which one of these you guys really want to go with. They both work. So I prefer these. These are actually becoming very familiar to me, and I'm liking using them. As you know, I am going to do a final review of these ratchet clamps from Harbor Freight in June. And I've been using them pretty much exclusively for the last 2 months, and they're working pretty well for me. No failures, no breaks, no complaints. I'm pretty happy with them. So what I'm going to say is I recommend to start your kit, get yourself 4 of 3 sizes of clamps, 6-inch, 12-inch, and 18-inch. It could be the ratchet clamps, it could be the F clamps. It could be from Harbor Freight, the Pittsburgh brand. It could be Bessie's, it could be Pony's. Get what you like, guys. The Harbor Freights are less expensive. I'm also going to recommend get 4 6-inch of the type you didn't go with. So if you go with F clamps, get yourself 4 of these guys. If you go with the ratchet clamps, get yourself 4 of these. Because these do a few things these don't do well, and vice versa. These have a little bit more clamping pressure. So if you get a board stuck, you know, if you're trying to squeeze a board into a glue up and you know the board's swelled with the glue and you got to really force it in there, you can't get a mallet at it. These will solve that problem. These, if you have a tricky glue up and you got to have a hand free, you can do these with one hand. So they both have their benefits. I think you do need both, but you don't need a full set of both. So if you want to go with, you know, the F clamps, get yourself a few ratchets and vice versa. And then throw yourself in, you know, 4 of these guys to go along with it, because these are also very valuable. I'm going to be honest. If you go the Harbor Freight route and you don't use any coupons, those 16 clamps plus the 4 spring clamps are going to cost you $68 bucks. If you get the discount, they're going to be $48.80. Now, guys, you can go with the Irwins. I like the Irwins. The Irwins are much smaller, as you can see. And there is some benefits to that. These can get into places that these don't. But these have more clamping pressure. And these are much cheaper. $3, $10. You know, like I said, you get these for about $10 a piece. If you just don't want to go with the Pittsburgh brand, you don't like them, Harbor Freight is now selling this Bremen line. This 6-inch clamp is $10, so it's about on the same price as the Irwin 6-inch clamp. I really like these. I'll be honest with you. These are pretty darn good clamps. I could see myself going with a kit of these if I was just starting out. It's just going to cost you more money. If you really are looking to save your pennies, go with the Pittsburgh. They'll do the job. These actually operate a little bit nicer. So that's my take on clamps. Start with a small kit like this. Don't go out and buy a bunch of parallel clamps until you really, really need parallel clamps. And then make the decision. Do you need parallel? Can you get away with some pipe clamps? You know, the other specialty clamps, I didn't even touch on all the crazy kinds of specialty clamps that are out there. There are strap clamps. There are so many, you know, there are specialty clamps for picture framing. I did my video on the pinch dogs the other day. Technically, they are a type of clamp. So technically, guys, that's clamps. You know, the mantra, you can never have enough clamps, really isn't true. You could get away with a small kit to start. I mean, you could get away with just 4 of these to start. You're just going to have to take your time, do a glue up, wait for it to dry, take it apart, do another glue up. You know, and if you don't have $68 to start, get yourself 4 of these 12-inch ones at 16 bucks. I mean, that'll get you going. Add the clamps as you need them. So that's it on clamps. I hope you liked this. If you did, please hit the like button. As always, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. And have a great day. We'll see you in the next one.